first chapter of Mark, and it's amazing what has gone on already. We haven't gotten out of the first chapter yet. Jesus has just left where he had been healing, and he went to Peter's house and healed his mother-in-law, and then he went out to find a place to pray by himself. The disciples came and found him and asked him where he had been, because everybody was searching for him. And he said, let's leave this place and go to the surrounding towns so that I might preach, that I might proclaim the good news, because that's why I'm here. And so now he's out and he's going out to these other towns, and immediately a leper comes up to him. Now, what do we know about leprosy? Who can tell me something that you know about leprosy? It's contagious. Yes, it's contagious. What else do you know about leprosy? Yes, Gail?
It was bacterial, and that there was no cure for it.
Okay, there was no cure for it. That's an
It
important.
was spread by touching one person to the next. So.
Spread by touching, yes. Spread by touching. Bacterial, no cure for it. Now, there's a lot of skin diseases that were classified under the law, the Levitical law of leprosy. But many of them were, just as we described, highly contagious. There was no cure for them. And if you look carefully at the law, it not only were you considered sick, but you were considered unclean. Okay, now there was a difference between being sick and unclean. Unclean separated you from the rest of the people. You weren't able to have social communion with anybody else. You weren't allowed to do any of your religious things. You couldn't go and worship in the temple. You couldn't be with people. Matter of fact, if you had leprosy, you had to wear your clothes torn. You had to tear your clothes. You had to have your hair disheveled, which would have been really hard for me. But you had to have your hair all messed up, and you had to put your finger over your lip and yell, unclean, unclean. And you weren't allowed any closer than 50 feet. 50 feet from any of the people that you came near. You weren't allowed to come closer than 50 feet. Those were the laws that surrounded people who had leprosy. As you can understand, it would ruin their lives. They couldn't do any financial dealings. They were reduced to begging, and begging from a distance, if you will. They couldn't do, we already talked about the religious worship, none of that. They were excluded from everything. Now, who do you think the lepers had to go to if indeed they were healed? If somehow there was a healing, who did they go to show that they were healed? Who knows? Priest, exactly. I was thinking somebody might yell out the doctor. That would be what we would think today. You go to a doctor, of course, but no. Because it was considered a religious disease, if you will, that it was something that you were punished by from God because of your sinfulness. It was the priest who had the role of declaring whether or not you were clean. It was the priest who looked to see if you were able to come back into relationship with the rest of the body, the rest of the worshipers in Israel. So this man has a lot going on in his life. There's a lot that is terrifying him. He's separated out. He's cut off. He's been removed. And he sees Jesus. And somehow he's heard that this Jesus has been healing, has been casting out demons, has been doing these great works. He's heard the message of who this Jesus is, and so he's going to risk all of this and come to Jesus. Now remember, he is highly contagious. That this disease, if you touch or get near, could possibly be transmitted. And yet, he comes before Jesus and kneels down. And he says, if you are willing, I know you can make me clean. I know you have the power. The Greek word in there is the word where we get the word dynamite from. It means power. You have the power. You have the ability. You can do it. I know you can heal me. Now Jesus is moved with compassion. And so he reaches out and he touches this leper. Now, what is it that we expect to happen to Jesus? All right, let's say we didn't know Jesus was who Jesus was. What is it we would expect to happen to a normal human being who reaches out and touches a man with leprosy? He's going to get leprosy. He's going to be contaminated. He's going to be unclean. Matter of fact, whether he shows signs of leprosy or not, if you come in contact with somebody who had leprosy, you too are unclean until you can show yourselves to the priest. priest and be declared clean.